And it sounds like both of you found some, even though you're not Chinese, Anthony, uh, some cultural centered club to be part of. Um, how do you think that helped you? Well, I guess it wouldn't help Anthony tie into his roots, but did you see anything beyond just like meeting other people that were of the same, ethnicity? Was there added value besides, just the sort of social aspect for either of you? And there's not a right answer, obviously.
Ooh, I mean, yeah, I mean, you definitely got to see different perspectives of like the Black experience in America. I come from Tennessee, so I'm more used to that. I was born in Zimbabwe, but I moved here when I was 3, so I'm very familiar, like family-wise, of like the African perspective as well, specifically the Zimbabwean perspective. But then to see like the Black experience across America, how
Mm.
similar it is, but also how different it could be in those clubs, it definitely like got me closer to my roots, if you will, no pun intended. And yeah, definitely had a great time.
Yeah, for me, like one of the reasons I joined the fraternity I did was because it was one of the more diverse ones, even though like that's not really saying much. So there was a lot of like people that were Asian. So that was interesting just because I was exposed to, other types of Asian people who grew up throughout the United States, or, some people even overseas. So that was just seeing different perspectives, like Munya said, was really interesting.
Cool. And then sort of leaning into that, but more about earlier, how was growing up, especially Munia, since you actually were like an immigrant, your first gen, and then me and Anthony are second gen. Um, how was like that experience for you being an immigrant in America? I guess it was when you were 3, right? Coming from Zimbabwe,
Yep.
and you landed in Tennessee.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Um, did you feel like you were a foreigner or international kid, early on, or is it really just like oh I speak another language, or my parents, have a accent? Like
Oh
what?
no, definitely. And even I had an accent at that time, walking around 3 years old. Hey, let me get that crayon. Like I had a little accent, and the kids definitely do. They definitely picked up on it. I mean, the name Munya was enough for them to pick up on it. But if they needed any more indication, any more confirmation, I was definitely providing that. And I was so socially awkward compared to like the United States, because in Zimbabwe, basically the social there's not much politeness in Zimbabwe. We're very blunt. We're very like straightforward. Especially children are very aggressive. So I definitely had to learn how to be more polite here, not just take toys, not just be rude to people. Like no, you definitely had to learn respect to abide by like the American social standards. So the transition, well, it took not too long for me. Probably by the time I was in first, second grade, I was fully accustomed. But there was definitely a transition there.
Gotcha. How about you, Anthony? Being both your parents are immigrants.
I
Um,
don't like. I don't know. It's definitely something. I mean, I'm sure you can relate to it as well, just because like we're obviously very similar. Like our parents have American accents.
mhm.
Like we didn't speak a second language at home, so it was definitely hard to like identify with being like a minority, like in that sense.
Right.
So like I don't necessarily think it was different for me. My camera keeps freezing, but
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, like what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely felt like very Americanized for sure.
Yeah.
Never had an accent. My dad never really spoke Tagalog at home. And then my mom's white, so like obviously didn't get much culture not Asian culture from her. she, White people have their own culture. So yeah, I didn't definitely feel different than other people. I guess I know it's really common, and not just Asian, but any other second generation. And where I grew up was a lot whiter than where you grew up, Anthony. So like I was definitely more the token Asian kid in my classes or my school than I'm sure like you felt like you were.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean that just like a little bit of imposter syndrome, I guess, and a little bit of wanting just to like what's it called? Integrate. There's another word for it. Better with like white people and stuff like
Assimilating.
that. Assimilate. There we go. That's the word. Um, So I definitely felt that fairly strongly. And I think for my experience in college, and I did a lot of those cultural showcases, was involved in our Filipino organization, not greatly again, but in all the Asian organizations that I was a part of, like SACE, the South Asian one, ASA, Asian American one. So that was definitely cool, just like Munya said, to see like different perspectives with people with the same like minority or same race, and see how different those experiences are, but also see like the underlying sort of foundation of that like culture almost. So like, and I think this is definitely true in African culture, but same with Asian cultures, like family is sort of like the bedstone, right? Like those are your ride or dies.
Yeah.
You
And speaking on that, like I initially moved to Nashville, but we lived with two families that took us in, and they lived in like a very, upper middle class area. So I went to school with a bunch of upper middle class, like mostly white kids. There were definitely some black kids as well, some Asians as well, but mostly white kids. And then we moved to Laverne when we actually could afford our own house. And then I was in a population where it's almost like 30% white, 30% black, 30% Hispanic, and then 10% like that. It was very diverse. And then that was a shock. I was like, oh my goodness. Wow, look at the diversity here. So I definitely got to get both perspectives of it, and I'm definitely appreciative for that.
Gotcha. And then sort of tying that in to your education and career aspirations or actualities for Munya, how do you think being raised in your respective cultures, or even if that's like too broad, just like with your specific parents, what sort of like values or dreams almost do they instill in you going into college and looking after too? I can give you an example if you want that to be more specific or if it didn't make sense.
Oh no, that makes sense. So I guess for me, the main thing that my parents definitely instilled in me was that, this is again kind of cliche, but just to outwork everyone, just to work hard because we came here. I'm not gonna say we had nothing, but we didn't have much. We didn't, like I said, we lived with two families that literally took us in. We didn't pay rent for 5 years, and then a couple years after that, we could finally afford to move out and then buy our own house. I slept on the couch until I was 10. So definitely like seeing how, definitely seeing how they came up and how they instilled like whatever they did, no matter what, they just worked hard, they grinded through it. My mom finished at Vanderbilt's Divinity School. My dad finished at Belmont's business, and then seeing them right where they were. And I just wanted to follow in those footsteps. So like, no matter what happens, like, and especially, today we speak a lot about privilege and it definitely exists, but my parents instilled in me, I don't care about what privileges other people have. You go out and you work. And if you work, you can overcome anything. You can overcome the disadvantages that you have that are absolutely there. You can overcome them without a doubt if you go out and you put the work in. So that's the main value, the main principle, the main core, the main thing that I believe in for sure, that they instilled in me.
Wow. That was better than I could have hoped for. All right, yeah, Anthony, go ahead.
Camera keeps cutting out. But yeah, for me, I think it was like very similar. I think we grew up around a lot of privilege, and my parents, I think we were always cognizant we were at some sort of disadvantage. I do think it's definitely real. So it was like the value is like work hard. You're gonna have to outwork other people just because they're like they start in a better place than you do. Like that was the biggest thing, and also just I think something they really stressed was like going into STEM. So I think it was like I think the expectation was always you're gonna become an engineer, and then like you do you after that. But yeah, that was definitely the expectation growing up.
Okay. Yeah,
so
I think.
Speaking on that, I was gonna say. So speaking of that, are you one of those kids that you were told to go to STEM, but you actually enjoyed STEM, or do you still find yourself doing STEM because that's where they set you on?
So like I actually came into college a chemical engineer just because like I thought I enjoyed chemistry. Ended up not enjoying chemistry. Took the first quarter of Orgo. Not a good choice. But so like one of the reasons I'm doing industrial engineering is because it's described as like the closest thing you can get to a business degree at Northwestern, just because we don't have an undergraduate business degree. But also that I think like it has a lot of like the math that other engineerings do, but it also brings in like a lot of like entrepreneurship and business like ideas. So I do like some STEM, like I really like data analytics and stuff like that, but I'm not a huge fan of like chemistry or physics. Like it's fine, but like it's not something I'm super fond of.